Alright, what's going on, Forgotten Nation? I'm your host FG, and today we're revisiting Kung Fu Master, released for the NES in 1985 by Nintendo. When the game first came out in 1984, it wasn't actually developed by Nintendo. It was actually made by the company IREM, who were best known for games such as R-Type and Moon Patrol. Internationally, they weren't really well known. They were best known in Japan. And when it came to porting the game in the West for the arcades, it was actually done by Data East. So Kung Fu Master, the arcade original version of the game, wasn't really made by the original company to begin with. And so when it came to porting for the NES, Nintendo decided to do it themselves. So here we are today with what many people consider the definitive version of the game besides the arcade release. And for what it is, it's a solid beat 'em up. Of course, probably compared to other games that have come out later, it's a little outdated by its gameplay, but for what it is, it still is a solid beat 'em up. So, we're gonna waste any time, let's just get into it. So, in Kung Fu, you play as Thomas, whose mission is to infiltrate the Devil's Temple in order to save his girlfriend Sylvia from the evil Mr. X and his henchmen. And for what it is, it's a pretty simple plot. Actually, as I mentioned when I first played this game, the plot was said to have been inspired by the film Wheels on Meals, who I believe starred Jackie Chan as the character Thomas. So for what it was already meant to be a Kung Fu game to begin with, based on actual Kung Fu roots. And even from the presentation alone, I would say this definitely taps into the idea of what really makes Kung Fu, Kung Fu. So you really only have two means of attacking, punching as I've been doing, and kicking. Both of them I believe do the same amount of damage, it's just a matter of how they're executed. Of course you're able to jump, you're able to duck, but for what it is, you're going to be doing the same thing a lot. And of course you have all sorts of different baddies. You have the regular grabbers, you have the knife throwers, and coming up on the later floors we're going to see some other enemies as well. But first, let's try to take on this boss here. There we go. Okay, watch out for the grabbers. There we go. Staircase? Almost there. Oh, come on. Staircase. Awesome, that's the first level done. So there's a total of 5 floors in this game, each one containing its own unique boss. And the idea is that once you get to the top, you take on Mr. X and save the girl. So, for what it is, pretty simple premise. But here's where things start to get a little harder. Every second and fourth floor, you deal with these falling vases and balls. And some of them contain enemies such as snakes and dragons. And this is where I tend to struggle the most with this game, especially because of enemies like the snakes. So if you're not careful, it is easy to get damage. Not to mention, as you go further, you even come across some of the regular baddies again. So there really is no stop to this game. And I'm sure you've already seen it by now, but this game also has a time limit, which means if you don't defeat the boss within the limits, you already lose a life. Which means this is heavily a race against the clock. But we just lost here, so let's try it again. And hopefully not take a lot of damage like we did before. So we're going to take it nice and easy. Oh, come on. See, just like that. 3 hits and I'm dead. 3 hits. You can tell, even with the NES port, it still feels like an arcade game. It was made to burn your quarters. Maybe it was a good thing it had a limited release in America. Because I know I've never seen this in arcades. Alright, careful now. Watch out for the dragons. Alright, we're moving. Here comes the baddies. No! Okay, we're doing good, Keep moving forward. So, one of the biggest things that makes this game iconic, at least the NES port, is the sound bites. Remember, this came out in 1985, which means this is one of the first games that actually has sound effects that almost sounds like a person actually grunting. And I would say that's probably this game's biggest reason it became so iconic in the first place. You go, huh, huh, doo-doo-doo-doo! And even when I died before from the boss, you could actually hear him laugh. So if anything, I would say the sound bites are the saving grace for why this game remains so iconic many years later. It was one of the first games that actually had some pretty good sound bites. Save Sylvia from Mr. X. Help me, Thomas. Sylvia! Alright, so we're halfway there. As you saw, that was a little interlude saying what the point of the game was. But hey, I already told you what it was. So from this point on, I believe that's everything there is to the game, so we're going to see a lot more, but harder. So let's just keep moving forward and see how far we can get. Because if I'm being honest, I've never gotten past the second stage in this game. Alright, but let's keep moving. So we're seeing a lot more enemies coming from the left and the right. Luckily, there is no such thing as slowdown. Apparently, Thomas never gets tired. And hey, we just got an extra life. Okay. I would say it's the knife throwers that are the most menacing, because they're always going to follow you, and you really don't have much time to either duck or avoid the knives when there's a lot of enemies. See, he's running away from me. Okay, and jump. Yeah, he's just gonna. Oh no! Ah! Yep, there's the deep grunts. Not gonna lie, that guy kind of reminds me of a Bobo. Alright, keep going forward. Maybe there's a chance. Maybe there is a chance we can get the. Come on, the 4th floor. Anything could happen. Alright. Gotta use the power punches. Ha ha! Ha 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 ha! There are things with this game is that when you're being attacked, it looks like you're being slowly hugged to death. I don't know if anyone has made that reference, but it just seems like when they come in, they're just like hugging you to your death. I suppose that's why the main enemies are known as grabbers, but could have been a little more effort to actually show like some actual flinching or something. But anyways, we're going to show Game B. Game B is the same thing, but it's just a bit of a harder difficulty. I don't know if it's higher punches or more enemies spawn, but Game B is the harder version. I believe they actually move a little faster. I think that's the only difference. So if you think that Game A is too easy, try Game B. But I can already tell this is going to be way harder than Game A. Yeah, games like Kung Fu or really any beat 'em up, there really isn't much time to breathe. And especially a game like this, you'd be lucky that the home version has a pause button. Because the arcade version, you'd have to go in, quarters and all. No breaks in between. I do wonder though how faithful it is to the arcade version. The only way I'd be able to tell is gameplay videos on YouTube. Because here's the thing, Kung Fu has never been released outside the NES or the arcade. I believe the only real version was a homebrew for the iPad way back when. And yeah, that wasn't. Oh gosh, he is beating me up. And that wasn't even the original developers publishing it. So I do wonder if Kung Fu may ever return in any form. I would be glad if the NES version came as a part of the Switch Online's lineup. But one could dream. One could dream. Alright, let's keep punching. Here they come. Oh, they're all following me. Oh no! Alright, the good thing is that they don't do too much damage unless they start to group up. So, luckily it's not too bad if they're those! A whole bunch of them! Dang it! Alright, we got one more chance at this. Keep punching. Keep punching. So as I mentioned earlier, punching and kicking are the only abilities you have. There is no such thing as a combo. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if any games had combos up to this point. There's no Cyclone attack like in Double Dragon. There's no really any special abilities. All you have is your feet and your fist. So for what it is, this game is very simple just because of its core mechanics. Though, looking back at it and comparing to other games that have come out later, especially like games like Double Dragon, it does leave a little to be desired. It definitely does. But I would still say that this game is iconic in its own right. Okay, Mr. Knife Guy's gonna keep... Yep. Alright, that's all 3 lives. So, I think this is gonna do it with Kung Fu. Again, I do hope that we ever see the arcade or the NES port C released in some other form in the future. It would be great. But as it stands, the only way to play this game is with a physical copy. Which I'm fortunate to have thanks to my grandma and my parents when they'd play this way back when. Of course, they threw out the ColecoVision and all those games, but you gotta forgive them. But, yeah, this has been Kung Fu. So if you guys liked the video, be sure to leave a like and comment below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Maybe with a little less, and so on and so forth.